reach. Pop, lock, now I'm off the leash. Mic drop, I ain't gotta preach. I just do what comes natural. 5-star, everything I see. Live lives, no apology. Take charge, no one can compete. I just do what comes natural.
We're back, y'all.
Don't miss your chance to laugh with Big Mama. You know I got something to say, and it's gonna make you laugh and think. 'Cause see, life, it's like gumbo. Messy, spicy. But baby, if you stir it right, whoo, it's good for the soul.
Big Mama stay dropping gem, but this season, we're turning the whole court upside down.
We've got guests, games, real talk, sports mom style.
Season 4, it's live, it's us, and baby, we just getting started.
Season 4? Oh, it's bold, it's real, and trust me, we're taking it there.
Season 4, it's live, it's us, and
we got something to say!
Welcome everyone to another episode of Can We Talk Sports?
Yes, welcome.
Yes, we can. We have a great episode tonight as we again celebrate the strength and the resilience of our sports mom. We have a great guest that's going to come on and tell us all about the world of being sports, and I can't wait to bring her on and be able to see the things that I see her do. I'm like, okay, I used to do that too. And us just glean from each other.
Yes. Exciting evening.
Yes. Well, I'm Karen, one of your hosts. I consider myself as a community mom because I love community. I love building community. I love building our kids. And I just love sports. And I love being able to bring wisdom, knowledge, and information and resources to all my sports moms out there. And my other host is
Big Mama. Hey, everybody. I am a retired sports mom. So I have full wisdom to share with you. I am just a teacher of life itself. Always ready to share and to impart to someone. So welcome this evening.
So I wanted to share about the challenges that I had when I was young, raising up my kids, the grind. I just remember as a sports mom, when I got off work, had to pick up the kids and they had practice. So I had to run, take them to practice. And then I would run home, start dinner. Then I would run, pick them up. And then I would run home. We would do homework, all the different things that us sports mom had to do to hold it down. I remember those grinding days. What about you?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge was self-care. And that's what I talk about so often about you can't pour from an empty pitcher. It was my kids, pouring that energy into them, my husband, my family. It was just so much. And I was working for corporate America, who did not let you leave early, who did not allow you to, everything had to be scheduled. So it was difficult, but rewarding.
Yes.
So, sports moms, I tell you all the time, don't forget to refill your own cup.
Yes.
It is important.
We forget that. I know as me, as being a mom and a wife and stuff, I just kind of put to the back burner. Okay, let me focus on my husband and my kids. And, right here in front of me, making sure the clothes are washed, making sure they have what they need, grocery shopping, those type of things. And so I just kind of put that kind of, my self-care, nails and all that kind of stuff. I was able to get my hair done, but, kind of put that stuff to the side. And so we hope that through the show that we can bring some practical things that can help you do that, whether it's throwing a roast in a crock pot and letting it cook. So when you get home, it's already done.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, Big Mama, do you remember what happened for us last week? I'm just going to show a little bit of the video
Oh
of
my
what we
goodness.
were honored to be a part of. And you guys
It was
watched it.
exciting.
It was very exciting. I was very nervous. Here we
Nervous.
go.
I
We
will.
talk some sports?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, switching gears. Back to school also means back to sports. And for parents and athletes, this means sacrifices, lessons learned, and memorable triumph. So a group of sports moms started the show, Can We Talk Sports, to have honest conversations, humor, and share their journey on raising young athletes. And you bring all of your different experiences to the forefront. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the conversations that you have?
We talk about the do's and the don'ts when it comes to referees. That was our favorite
Oh,
topic.
yes, I bet that is.
That one was a good one. We've had
Because
some
the
refs
parents,
on.
honestly, often they're the ones that are misbehaving the most.
They see that they're relatable stories that they was like, oh, okay, I experienced that too.
So what do you think actually is some of the biggest challenges that parents of sports, of athletes are facing?
Balance. Set some boundaries and enjoy the journey.
So to have that community is so important. Now, Sonia, people know you as Big Mama. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes.
That was so much fun. I want to
Yes,
thank
that was
Dave for
fun.
doing that, putting that together real quick so we can share with everybody what we are doing at Can We Talk Sports.
Right. That
It
was
was
a
such a
fun
blessing.
time. Just being in the studio, it was different for me, and exciting. And so I'm looking at it like, I like this. I'm like, oh, Big Mama, I don't know about a career change, but I sure like being live and on location.
Listen, I was like, when we do our show, I don't be nervous like that. And that's
No.
because I'm doing so many different things. And so I can go there and just focus on being able to speak, I just choked up. But I just thank God for the door that He gave us to be able to, for people to see what we've been doing, what we're trying to do. And that's to educate our parents, bringing resources, giving them a platform where they can come and share, just like the mom that we have tonight that's going to come and share with us about the world of being a sports mom.
Yes, yes, indeed. I can't wait to hear from her.
So are you ready, Big
Share a
Mama?
lot.
Are you ready?
I am.
Okay.
I
let's
am.
go.
Let me tell you.
Yes, good evening, everybody. This is Big Mama. And, I always got some tea or I got something that has happened in the sports world that is just absolutely unbelievable. Like, why? What made you think that was okay? But tonight, I want to celebrate Michael Dwayne Vick. I almost said Michael Dwayne Bowers. That's my babe. Shout out to him. But anyway, Michael Dwayne Vick. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Michael Vick, he was the first overall draft pick in 2001. He's a retired former NFL quarterback, former NFL analyst with Fox Sports. But he had this piece of his life, a portion of his life where he spent 21 months in federal prison for participating in a dogfighting ring. He missed 2 NFL seasons, but even after being convicted in this, the NFL reinstated him. And so he was able to finish his career and retire. But now he is a first-time head college coach at Norfolk State University. Go Spartans. So yes, the HBCUs are alive and well. And plus, he's only 30 minutes away from home, from his hometown. So his story is absolutely amazing. But before I go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to two of my friends, Los and Mick, for chatting it up with me earlier. I called each one of them and I said, hey, I have a question for you. Don't want you to think about it. Just give me your answer. What do you think of Mike Vick? So the first one says, oh, Mike Vick, that's the comeback kid. The other one saying he's an upstanding guy, just got caught up in a bad situation. And he went on to say, he said, but what he was a part of is commonplace in our community. He says, I've gone to dog fights. And the other one has said that he had attended dog fights as well. But now, wait, before you go any further, at Can We Talk Sports, we do not condone cruelty to animals. So do not send Big Mama no mail. We do not condone it. But I am going to tell his story because Mike's journey has been resilient, redemptive, and absolutely unwavering. One of his talking points that he says to his players is the 23-hour rule. He says there's 23 hours in a day that you can be guilty of doing the right thing. He said, but if you screw up in that last hour, that's all they're going to remember. So I want to say to the student athletes this evening, never allow your mistake to become your story. You learn from it, you move forward, know that it does not define you, create a new narrative, and be the most authentic you. So that's all Big Mama has to share with you tonight. But congratulations to Mike Vick for just being, as my friends say, the comeback kid. We are proud of you, and your story will forever be told. That's all I have tonight.
That is wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's get ready to bring our guests on the show. I wanted to say that Miss Enjoli, she's a proud mom of 2 boys. She's a single mom balancing sport life with a career in transportation. And she has 20 plus years in leadership and agnacy of management. I mess up those words all the time. But welcome to the show, Miss Dixon.
Hello, good to see you guys again.
Hey. She's in mobility management. I sure want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can tell you a little bit about that. So I work in the field of transportation, which is known largely as a STEM field. My background in architecture, engineering, and urban planning. And mobility management is very much the connector in the community, the organizer, making sure that people have access to anything that are just vital needs in your communities, whether it's education, work, even social activities. So largely, if you're in a large area like Dallas or Chicago or even the rural areas, I now represent the rural areas, but you need to make sure that you always have that connectivity to get to places that you need to go. Healthcare is another crucial one, or making sure that you have that connectivity where you can access loved ones and families and friends. And for kids, I know here where I'm located, the public transit agency started a free option for kids. So as they have after school activities and sports and things, they're able to have a way home and back and forth.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really now, where are you located?
I am in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Just go and then
on this side, and Jeffsy would make a triangle.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So tell us about you mastering the world of a sports mom.
So it's one of those things that either you got to figure it out real quick, you love it, or you don't love it. So I guess if I put it that way, you're in it or you're not. And I think I watched my parents, my mom and dad were very active and made sure that I stayed. And I was in dance my whole life, gymnastics. I was cheerleader. I also ran track. And so, it's kind of one of those things that I kind of grew up with. We all play sports. And then as I end up having my 2 sons, have one in middle school, one in elementary school, we just wrapped up baseball season, sort of. We have fall ball coming up. But they one played on 2 baseball teams and the other played on 3. So as one,
how you do that?
So they're a travel ball. So you played on one, and you kind of figured out the games were on different times. And then one of their old coaches put together kind of like an all-star team. So he was very excited to be invited to that. They had never practiced together. They won both of their World Series Little League, games, which was great for them.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, they're excited, especially in this extreme heat, because we've had all these heat advisories. And then they decided they're going to do a fall ball team. But you have to stay really organized for that way. That's number one. So you need to have all the tools, all the calendars, all the schedules. As I was telling her, okay, I had everything prepped. Like I brought out the meat cooked ahead of time for taco night. It's Taco Tuesday. My one little one, though, he has some loose teeth, and he said, I have wiggly teeth. I can't bite everything. So he had mashed potatoes and something else. So to be prepared. But I think one big question I remember, and this was a father that asked that, as we're having kids, how do we prepare, and how do we prepare financially? Yeah. And that's a big part of it. And I don't want to discourage people, because a lot of people, it's easy to say, oh, that just costs too much, or I'm not doing all that running around. Yeah. I firmly believe in, and working with, I coach sports as well with kids. If your kid wants to play something, if they have a dream, also if they're very good at that, you need to encourage that. You need to support that. And I feel like my parents found a way. You need to find a way. A lot of times the coaches will come together and help them find a way. And even that means supporting it or donating financially. And I know, I have to tell my boys sometimes, hey, you don't get to have like 3 different bats. You're going to get this one from playing against sports used, and then we might get a new one at the end of the year. Yeah. It's one of those things, because at the end of the day, it's how hard you practice.
Yeah.
And how disciplined you are. It's not necessarily because it's a shiny new bat. Some of the best athletes, they played basketball just with a broken hoop, or they ran across a rocky field, practicing football. They didn't have the nice green grass and the turf, and they're in the NFL today, or they're in the NBA today. So I have to constantly, kind of remind them of that's not what it's all about. So it doesn't matter about the fancy fields and all the gear. And I know my oldest a lot of times will say, oh man, that team, they have all the matching bags and cool outfits, uniforms. And that happened recently at a tournament. And this team came down in this great, they had these vehicles with their like logos on it. I mean, it was a lot. Yeah. And I said, but just because they have all that doesn't mean they're the greatest team. Like they're the number one team, they're gonna win. And they didn't. They actually like lost in the first round. I said, I keep telling you boys that doesn't matter. You could have matching everything. Doesn't matter. Exactly. You can play in a t-shirt and some cleats and some shorts and still be just as good.
Yes, right. It's the discipline that's involved.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you can look real nice, but if there's no discipline, you don't even have a team.
Yes, exactly.
You mentioned your youngest said something about wiggly teeth, and that tickled me. How old is your youngest?
He's 9.
He's 9. Well, I have a 6-year-old granddaughter, and she called this evening and said that same word. She said, I have wiggly teeth. And my children are 30 and 37, and I'm thinking, I've never heard that word wiggly. I don't think
I didn't either.
Loose or something.
Yeah,
but
loose too.
That caught my ear when you said wiggly. She's all in the phone. Look, it's wiggly. Oh, okay.
It's their own terminology. Yeah, when he said that, I said, "What teeth?" I'm like, "What are you trying to say?" I know we can be able to loose too. Yeah,
exactly. So with you balancing being a single mom, your career, and your sports schedules, what do you do for Enjoli?
It's hard because a lot of times sports parents neglect themselves, right? And but I truly think that it's very important to have that village, and you usually have your village that's within the sports moms as well. So I think that's super important. There are some really, really great sports moms that I know in every sport that my kids play. So for swim team, for baseball, for football, and for basketball. And kind of we all sometimes have our little kind of places that we'll go and hang out, and say, oh yeah, girl, or like we'll be like, we're going to pack our little snacks together or share things together. But I think just taking that time when you do have a free weekend or in between times to take that break. So whether we're in a hotel, sometimes we're like, you know what, we're all going to go to the pool and we're just going to take that break, or we're going to stay extra day and do an activity together. And I think that's some of the stuff that you have to make yourself do it. You also have to take care of yourself to make sure that, we always put them before us, the kids. So we're like, oh, we got to pay for these cleats and we got to buy these hats. And it was funny because I made that comment to my oldest the other day when he wanted these certain cleats. And I was like, them cleats cost like $155. They're like Jordan cleats or something. And I'm like, look here. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, unless you're going to be like jumping 10 foot high, I'm not buying those. Yeah, back to school shopping. And I said, there are some cleats just as good for like $50,
Right.
He has bigger feet. He wears like a size 14. So I'm like, that's a lot, for a middle schooler. And I said, I think, kids make the comment, well, you something about me buying shoes. And I was like, I just bought the 2 pair of tennis shoes. And I always get 2 because if I like a certain kind in case they don't have the style again. And I keep those 2 pair of shoes. And I may not buy another pair till like a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
Or a year. And then I might be like, oh man, these are really feeling worn out and I just have to do it. But we tend to, put ourselves last. We're like, we can make these shoes stretch out a little bit longer, long as there's no holes in them. So,
Yes.
So, but I think it's important to pamper yourself as well. Like I said, have your village with some of the other moms. And, sometimes you may be the only mom and it may be with the dads. I know this is the sports mom show. Sometimes that's the case too, because some moms aren't really into sports. So maybe just 1 or 2 of you and it's all dads. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
They're very helpful. They'll make sure, hey, come out with us. And if that's, kind of your village, then that's what you have to do as well.
That's your village. Exactly.
Let me ask you this, with you being a part of a lead and travel teams, I know nowadays that the travel teams, when they win, like they win the rings and, these are things that our kids used to have to wait to get those things when they got in high school. They didn't give, you might have got a little trophy or something.
Ribbon.
But now, now you're getting MVP ring. As looking at this, how do we keep our kids balanced and grounded that they don't get too cocky that I'm an MVP and I'm going up the ranks and thinking they're more than what they are? How do we keep their kids balanced in that area?
I think just, letting them know that you are fortunate to have that opportunity to play. I remember saying this, and a good example is I used to live in Arizona. And I remember when LeBron James first started playing. I don't know if y'all remember that. And, he was young and, excited and, kind of, that attitude they get. And I remember seeing him at an event, and a friend of mine worked for a certain magazine out there, and I won't say the name, but we were at this like kind of small event. And there were fans there that wanted to take pictures of him and wanted to just say hello. It was a real small venue, held maybe not even 100 people. And I remember just the attitude and him not being very open to his fans and just kind of this is me, you're not, And I remember a coworker saying, oh, trust me, that's how he acts. And that really turned me off from him, that I had like no respect. And I remember telling, I remember telling one of his people, I said, you know what? I said, you need to tell him to remember this. Just as fast as you rose up, you can fall back down.
Yeah.
He could tear something and get hurt tomorrow, and it'll be the next new one coming up. Yeah. And I said, I don't mean that, to be negative or to be, mean, but I was like, just as fast as you got it, you can lose it. And I think that's important to tell your kids that, because, you have to realize that you work hard, you train hard, you pay attention, but, you have to be very, very humble, and you're very fortunate because, anything could happen. And so just be blessed for what you have, in that moment. And of course, you want to always strive to do better. But, there's also looking at the other team whenever you guys have your rings and you're like, oh, look at my rings. And they're kind of like, or they just have a medal or a T-shirt. Yeah. But I think, my son and their team, they're very, very, very humble. We're fortunate to have a great set of coaches. They talk to them. They give them life lessons as young men, which I very much appreciate. And that's how they start, the season. We played on 3 different travel ball teams throughout the years, and we've been with this last one for several years. They make sure they say a prayer together when they start practice, and when they start their games. And you don't see a lot of teams do that, and that's okay because everybody isn't, that may not be a thing, but I think that's very important for us. And so when we decided to play with that team, to play with the Knights, I was like, oh yeah, this is a great fit because that's what we believe in, and this is our village. So we've seen some that are pretty cocky. We saw a couple of the game just talking back to the umpire and like, come on, and you would have thought you're like, is
You're
this
a
a kid doing
kid.
this? Yeah, you know.
Right.
And what happens though, if you don't check that when they're younger, it
Yeah.
carries all the way up until high school. But what happens is that they'll just like, well, then you're not playing, you know, or whenever they're college. And then they're so disappointed and that kind of spirals out of control. So I think it's important just kind of teaching those that respect, you know, just kind of goes on with just regular life. Let respect your coaches, respect the umpires and those, you know, or the referees, whoever's out there. They're just doing their job. And your job is to go out there and play hard, you know, and be respectful. So not like, you know, I'm the next this and that, and I'm only 12, you know, so.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the sports, have you learned any lessons in dealing with your kids in sports that maybe you've carried over into your professional career?
I think, you know, some of the lessons that I've learned is, so one of it is, you know, I work in a male dominated field, first of all. So let me just start with that. And I think sometimes the aggressiveness, you have to tone it down, you know, because I'm very competitive, you know, being a former athlete. And I think sometimes that translates over into my field because, you know, you have to be aggressive. You have to always be up on things. You have to, you know, and I know sometimes my son's just like, you guys need to calm it down. Like you need to take a break, you know? And I think just learning those lessons that sometimes, you know, you just kind of have to like zip it. Sometimes you have to pause, you know, and think about the next play quietly, I guess you could say. Yeah. And I think that translates over into my profession too, because sometimes we're so quick to, okay, what's the next thing? Or we want to just jump out there and say it. But sometimes I think just kind of backing up, reevaluating, and almost making like a sports play first.
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
A different way, a different type of strategy, you know?
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give a mom that is, you know, just getting into sports and she needs to know how to manage it all? Give her some tips and advice that she can use to manage the kids, their schedule, working, and all that kind of stuff.
If you are kind of into technology, you know, I have to by default because of my field, but use a Google Calendar or some sort of device. You know, some moms have some of the fancy ones that you put on the wall and they put everything in and things like that. You know, I just have them on my phones, but I'm also very old school. I have a planner notebook because, you know, these things die. And so, you know, then you're like, oh, I can't find. Yeah. So keep some sort of folder with you and a planner. I say so you can write it down instantly, so you're not trying to type it in your phone or what'd you say. Also ask questions. Ask questions first before you sign up and see if those teams are a good fit. And I want to also say that means even the school team, right? Because sometimes just because it's at your school doesn't mean that's the best fit. So I know my middle schooler, the first year, he didn't play football actually at his school. They start at 6th grade. Some of the other schools surrounding area, which is where my parents lived, they didn't start at 6th grade, and they had kids from all over play. And they allowed that because their rules are different. And so we played for that team, and it was a really, really great organization. And, you know, the school was kind of like, what? He's playing for this other team. But that's where he got really, really great training and got his start. And so that was just a better fit for him at the time. And I think that's really, really important. So whether you play in a school league or whether you're going to play in an outside community league or another, you know, those are some of the questions that you need to ask. And first and foremost, ask your child, like, where do they feel most comfortable? Do they really want to play the sport? Are they going to put in the work? Because it is work. Or are they going to come home every day and be like, I don't like this. I'm this. The coach yelled at me. You know. So because if they're not used to that discipline, if it's not what they want to do, then don't make them do it. If you want them to play just because you were an athlete, you know,
living for your kid.
Yeah, you see a lot of that, you know, and I've seen a lot of that being a coach.
And it's unfortunate, but we do.
Yes. You know, I coached gymnastics all through college because I was a gymnast when I went to KU. So we coached at a gym, KSG, and then I coached cheer, I coached swim. But, you know, some people want to do it just because when they're kids, because they did it. And I'm like, okay, but this is not what they want to do, you know? And I think that's super, super important. So if they don't, maybe ask them, is there something else that you want to do? Find something they like. If they want to do acting, then let them do acting. You know, maybe they don't want to be the next, you know, Patrick Mahomes or whoever it is, or Michael Vick. Maybe that's not their thing.
Right.
So listen, this is what we do sometimes, Enjoli, in our on our show here. We have a game segment.
Okay.
So we have option A, which is where would you rather, the sports mom edition, or we have option B, which is rapid fire, which is quick questions with fun answers. So option A, would you rather, or you want to start with rapid fire, quick questions?
I'll start rapid fire. Yeah.
Favorite game day snack?
Popcorn. I have a lot of them. Popcorn, I guess.
And we pause at the rapid.
I'll say popcorn, but I have a lot of favorite snacks.
Okay. One word to describe sports mom life.
Chaos.
I was thinking chaotic. I thought that same thing.
Yeah, see, you and I same way.
And I haven't seen these questions, so I'm like, ooh. Your carpool anthem. What's the song? What is it?
All I Do Is Win by DJ Khaled. I like to play that for the boys.
Yes, indeed. Wonderful. Aaron, come on and do the would you rather.
Okay, let's do would you rather. Would you rather sit through a double hitter in the heat, or drive to 5 practice in 1 week?
Ooh, drive to 5 practices in 1 week.
Oh.
Yeah, double hit in the heat.
Them double hitters in the heat. Oh, we have done it. Killer.
Okay, would you rather cook a post-game meal for the whole team or wash uniforms for everyone?
Wash uniforms. Have you seen these kids? If you would have cooked food for a bunch of 6'2", 200-pound 13-year-olds, like
I think cooking for them would be easier because instantly I thought spaghetti.
And I thought chili dogs.
Well, but some of them don't. Kids are different now. They eat different. They have different allergies and gluten-free.
Allergies, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, so you'd be cooking like 5 different meals, right? You know, and some are only vegan and some, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things I'm like, you know, at this age, I'm thinking, well, did I have allergies? If I ate citrus, I remember this distinctively, that I would always get like a breakout in between my elbow, the bend of my arm, or the back of my knees. Anytime I ate oranges.
It's the acid in them.
And I thought to myself, the 10-year-old me, something is not right.
Right, right.
Oh, you all right? Just put some salve on it.
Right.
No, ma'am, no, sir. Stop eating citrus fruit. So I had to self-diagnose at 10 years old that this is something that's not right. So for the longest, I could not. And I think it may have been a seasonal thing because now I can eat acidic.
Yeah, you might have grown out of it.
Time with it. I grew up, yeah, maybe so. But I think now I'm like, you can't eat nuts. You can't. I'm like, where were those when we were young? Because nobody ever asked, can you eat this or can you not? It was just
you just ate it
at the party or whatever little celebration, and you ate all the ice cream. You ate.
I mean, I found out a kid, and that was actually was allergic to strawberries. I was like, really? Trying to give some kids some fruit? I never knew anyone allergic to strawberries.
Yeah,
that's it.
Things like that.
Yeah, and then when my grandbaby was born, the mom, she didn't let, when you started feeding her, she just did a little bit at a time to see if they were going to have an allergic reaction. We just fed them off the table.
Mix everything together.
Pot liquor.
Right.
Lord knows what was in there because it started out with tap water, so you don't even know what was going on.
Right. Right. I mean, my boys are
EOC.
My boys are meat eaters. They're steak and potato eaters, so that's not a problem. They're like, they're hungry. They're like, we're hungry. So,
right.
All right. Can you give us
wash those uniforms?
Oh,
yes. Yes. Right. I could do some spot treatment and wash them. They be bright white.
That's it. Look,
I didn't know when my daughter played softball that there was some kind of thing that you can put on your nose and it kind of alerts you. And so all the white teams, they did it, and we didn't even know it until one of the moms had come and share. It's some kind of, it's like in the medical field when you're asleep or something, they put it on your nose and it kind of wakes you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's something that we use in the softball game when we've been sitting there in the heat, about getting ready to play.
Drowsy, like.
We would put it in the water, and then they would wipe their face with it, and it would alert them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was all kind of little techniques that we had as moms that we shared with the other moms. Can you go ahead and share? Go ahead and give the moms any other tips that you want to give them to be the best sports mom?
So now it's a little bit different than when we played, but first and foremost with this heat, we've been under heat advisory. You want to pack coolers, of course. You want to pack those fans. If you can find the fans that you can put in the dugouts, because depending on where you play, we played in a little area where the dugout didn't have a top. Mm-hmm. So the sun was beaming down, and we were like, what? It was an old field. So we had, luckily, some of us had tarps, because, we're also scout parents too, some of us. So we had to tie a tarp over it because the boys were just burning up. I mean, it was awful. So, you want to pack tarps, fans. You always want to have coolers of ice. You want to have those, the rags, the towels. So you want to have a cooler where you can dip those and put those. You want to have some sort of replenishment drink for electrolytes. So, depending on what you want to eat, we pack the vitamin C packs, or you can make your own. Any type of fresh juices, bananas for cramps, pickle juice. I know some of the a lot of concession stands sell the pickle juice pops. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen those, but those are good for them to eat, and it puts the salt back in their system. So anything like that, and really kind of like some healthy snacks that they can eat in between grapes, a lot of fruits, little things of salami, cheese sticks. So anything to kind of replenish them real quick, because you might have like 15 minutes in between the game. So you don't want them eating like chili dogs or things like that,
Right.
And
make
then
them sluggish,
also,
right?
Right. Yes. And then anything that keeps them cool. Also, we go to the extent packing cots. So if anyone needs to lay down and take a break, or if you're not feeling well, because a lot of times there's nowhere for them to sit. You might have a chair, but just to kind of, lay down under the tent. So, sometimes people see you're dragging up there with your wagon. They're like, man, y'all brought the whole world. But it's very relevant, because things are different. And I remember their grandma, my mom was like, I just don't remember us having, this extreme heat all the time when you all were younger. It was not this bad. Yeah. And then, of course, things in the environment weren't as bad. All the allergies, all the things, that can cause flare-ups. So there, have a checklist of things that you will pack the night before and the day of. And then you don't always have to buy yourself, because they can get expensive, but talk to your village. What are you bringing? You're bringing this. I'm bringing this. What are you bringing? And sometimes it'd be a bulk order of things to kind of save money, and just kind of have, who's going to do this, have a sign up list for those things. But those are some tips definitely, that I would say just to kind of keep in your mind. While you're going to be doing any type of travel sport. So, or if you're just going to be at home, if you're like, this is football season and it's still hot. It's 106 on our thing the other day. Super hot. We don't know if it's going to get cool for fall season anytime.
Yeah. No, November is when I'm like, yeah.
You're going to welcome that cool air all of a sudden coming. Let me just ask you another question. Like when we were growing up, even on TV and stuff, we did not hear a lot of curse words, but now cursing is acceptable on TV. And so now I've been hearing this chatter about your coaches cussing at your kids at practice. Is that something that's new in the sports world? Is it more acceptable, or is that a deal breaker for you as a parent to hear? And then the men, because, they say men discipline boys different. So is it okay for a man coach to tell your boy to get your blank over here, that kind of stuff?
I don't think it's acceptable. You want the kids to be respectful. And like I said, it's like a life lesson. And so you need to be respectful to them. I think it varies. Maybe it kind of depends on, whose team you're on and kind of what they're used to and just the environment. We don't allow that on our teams. I don't allow that on any teams that I've coached. And I don't know that it's a kind of male versus female thing, because one of the teams that they played on, they had a female coach and she was tough, let me tell you, but she never cursed at them. If she was meeting with the parents one night and they were acting out of line and she was like, boys, I need you to be quiet, I'm meeting. And then she's like, I'm not going to tell you again. The second time, okay, second warning. Third time, sit down, do push-ups. They just knew, she didn't have to yell, didn't have to coach at them. And she's a pretty tough coach and just very stern. So, she never cursed, never called them any other crazy names, never degraded them. And none of our male coaches have done that. I have been, when we played basketball last year, we were at a school and there was a coach and they were cursing at the team. And I remember I walked in, some of the parents were like, this coach is out of control. And they had to call one of the school officials, and then that stopped instantly. The principal kind of crept up and was watching from the door. But we just thought, you could tell that the boys just looked defeated and they just felt like we can't do anything right. And they were in 7th grade.
Wow.
And that's horrible. Why are you cursing at little kids? And I think, you need to pull yourself out of that, coaching situation, and you need to really evaluate, yourself, what, why would you do that? And what makes that okay in your head? Because that's not okay.
And I think in the world of coaching today, you have to learn that there is a difference between disrespect and discipline. And that is where it is. And a lot of these coaches, unfortunately, it's just like some parents, they're living their life through this team. Your team didn't make it to the high school playoffs, but you're going to do whatever you got to do to make this team go, and you throw caution to the wind and do whatever. So I know some do curse, some don't. But it is when you put your hands on them.
Yes.
I think that is definitely crossing the line. And I don't want to negate the fact of mental abuse, because cursing can go too far. But when you begin to be physical and you take a kid and throw him across, to sit on a bench or something, no, man, you need
or
some
just yanking
counseling.
them or any of that.
You need some counseling. And I think that's one of the things that coaches, they have always been deemed, just rough and go. But I really think that they need to have some type of class or something, especially these little league coaches. Because I would say even in high school, there is some training and things that, some measurements that they have to take, classes, sensitivity training, things like that as a teacher. But these little league coaches, they need to take a class before they can sign up with the city, because
the city should have classes. When I coached baseball, we had to go through, I can't remember, I'll have to think of what it is and send it to you all, but we had to log in and they did these trainings for coaches and we had to take them. And everybody had to take them before you coached for the Parks and Rec Little League. So I'm not sure, maybe everyone's doesn't do that, but I think that was a really, really good thing. And it was made very clear that if we find out there's any inappropriate behavior or you're yelling at the kids and this and that, then we can ban you being a coach. And I remember the director over there, he said to date, since he had been there, I think he'd been there for 14 years, he's like, I banned 21 coaches from coaching. And I was like, that's a big number. I'm thinking he's going to say 5, but he's like, you're not going to curse at the kids. They're here to have fun. They're learning, and, they're like 1st through 6th grade, so it's, he's like, all the yelling and all of that, they're here to have fun first and they're here to learn. So I think, that's not too strict to enforce those rules, that you have to have current training and that you need to make sure that you're thinking of how the child feels. Of course, we always want them to win, but, it's not going to help, because mentally it's disturbing if they're constantly yelling at them and they're like, I can't do anything right. And they just can't function and they can't focus.
Yeah. I think we're getting close to we're taking the fun out of it, playing sports, because it is definitely becoming a business. And then you're playing almost all year round. So you got school and then you're traveling. But it, in the older ages, it does help with keeping your kids out of trouble because you're always gone, and you're gone
Right.
and you don't have time for a lot of idle time. But it's becoming even more now that the younger kids are staying very, very busy.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because it does keep kids, kind of off the streets and things like that if they have the ability to play. And I think one thing that I think it's important is that not every parent has the ability to pick up their kid, drop off the kid, and go to practice. And I think lending a hand and helping, if they want their child to do that. But one of my kiddos said the other day when I picked him up, I asked about a couple of boys, like, "Hey, they're not on the team anymore. Like, what happened this year?" And one thing that was really disturbing to me because I've known this child for a long time, he said he doesn't play sports anymore. He's a gangster. And it really bothered me because the previous year he did get in a lot of trouble, and he wasn't the only one. There were several of them that got in trouble. I got kicked out of school, got suspended. And the thing that really bothers me is that they're really talented kids.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, it's like all that talent, and I know they like to play, but all that talent is just kind of like falling by the wayside just because they feel like they have to fit in with a certain group or they have to do, so really, really sad. That really bothered me. I was thinking about it last night. I thought about it today. Like, did he just say what I thought he just said about these boys?
And that's very sad because that's the environment that they live in. And unfortunately, they have to survive in that environment. I have a lot of cousins that are in South Central, and so many of them had so much talent as far as sports and things like that. But because the gang was so heavily populated in their area, it's like, this is how I go to school. This is how I come back home. This is what's pulling me because I got to survive. Because if not, they're going to do this or that. And which was very sad. But, and then I have a few success stories from that same environment. But you have to have someone that is supporting you, encouraging you, to make it better for you, to put you in a different mindset that you don't have to fall to that. But it is unfortunate. That's a lot of African-American inner city kids. That is their story. And those talents end up in the graveyard, ends up in the jails, systems, and it is unfortunate. But I have a friend that had a son, only child, and at 14 he says, "I want to be a gangster." And the question for the dad was like, "Where did you get that from? Because that's not what I do." And me and your mom, we work and we're employed. What made you? But it was the environment in the neighborhood or at the school,
right?
Not so much in the neighborhood, because but at the school, and that's where he had to fight his battles. And it's like, this is best for me. And unfortunately, he's in a situation now that only God can release him from it. But that's what happens. And that child that said that, "Oh, I'm a gangster now," don't know his name, but I'm certainly going to keep him lifted, because it's got to be a better turnaround for him. It's sad. It really saddens my heart, because that's what our young African-American males and females are facing. Either you join with us or you're nothing.
Yeah.
We're gonna make your life miserable.
It was just really sad because I'm like, okay, because the other thing is I want to say is that like my mom, which is their grandmother, is a heavy supporter too. She played all kinds of sports growing up, made sure we were in sports, and even their great grandparents are fortunate are alive too. And so we have another mom that played, same name is my oldest son's friend, and they have the same name actually. We used to live a block over, funny, and they call Cardi M, Cardi T, they both have the same first name. But I said, his mom said, "Well, we might need some help because her husband's a firefighter, doing pickups and stuff. And I have the other two little ones." I'm like, "No problem." And parents were in the chat like, "Hey, who can help out?" And their coach, really great guys, like, "Hey, we're all a village here. If you need help, we're going to figure it out." And so that was the thing, is that those couple of young men I asked about, one in particular, he always needed a ride home. Sometimes his mom would forget or be like, oh, can you grab him? And so that's what I said. Oh, I'm like, nobody, they don't need a ride today. Where's everybody? Because I told her, I said, don't worry. We take like 5 of them home. And I say all that to say is that because sometimes, you know, the other thing is parents are like, well, if you want to do it, you better find your way there at home. And I don't think that's okay too, because it's embarrassing for kids, right? I think if your child wants to play, ask another parent, ask a coach. Maybe there's a parent that can get them home, and don't make them feel embarrassed. They need to have some sort of support. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, you know, if they're have to go to a game, they're getting an award. Like, I'm going to be that parent, or other parents like, let's step up and stand up behind them. And I know some people are like, well, I mean, where are their parents at? They should be here. But I think we need to go back to being where those villages and the neighborhoods support more. People have gotten away from that, you know, to make it more competitive. Like, no, my kid's the best. My kid's that. I'm like, well, you're also a team. It's a team sport. Yes. And while your kid may be great individually, you're only as good as also your team altogether, and you play as a team. And so if those other kids don't have that support, you know, they're going to fall short on the team, you know, and then the team's going to fall short. And so you need to support that, encourage that. You don't have a pair of cleats. Oh, we have some last year. They may be used. Maybe you can fit them, you know? And I think that's so important to encourage that. And so, you know, it takes a village, you know, and even, you know, like I said, financially, like I told Karen, I want to talk about, you know, think of ways that you can support. Okay. You don't have the money. Maybe we can do a bake sale. We can do a fundraiser. We can do a barbecue. Can some of the churches donate, you know, to sponsor a kid? All those different things to help. And I know some of the parks and recs, people don't know, they have scholarships for kids where they can play. And a lot of people don't know that. So I'm one of those people, you know, even in my career field, you know, people always know, oh, no, I don't take no for an answer. There's always a way. And we figure it out. And I was raised that way. Oh, no, there's always a way. You know, so to figure it out. And so everyone knows, we know, okay, though you say that's not possible, I'm sure it is possible, you know.
That's amazing. As you guys see, we have had a wonderful show. Be sure to go and like and share and tag another sports moms about what we're doing over here at Can We Talk Sports. We're dropping nuggets. And so thank you so much for Enjoli for being on the show. Thank you for coming and telling us about the world of a sports mom and how you're holding it down. And I'm sure everybody got lots of nuggets from it.
I appreciate it. Can I say my oldest signed himself up to do the Youth of the Year Sports Illustrated? He's so excited. So if you all get a chance, I don't know if I can put in the chat where you all vote for him. He's third in his category right now.
Messenger, and then I'll share it.
He's third in his category right now. There's 2 days, I think, for the top 10. So if he makes the top 10, then he'll go on to the next tier. So he's my shy one. And so first I said, you want to do it? No, I don't want to do it. That's embarrassing. And then I looked up and he was trying to figure out how to sign up and do the stuff. And I had to call the tech people because I was like, wait a minute, well, how'd you put this in? So I'm very proud of him for, you know, kind of getting out there, but he wanted to do it. So super excited.
Send us the link.
Oh, let me see if I think if I click the link, I think it's going to go to another tab and not necessarily on the show. That's in the link. So yeah, you send it to me on the sports page, and then I'll share it. Yeah, because there's a lot of people doing it. I'm getting it from everywhere, and you can continuously vote, but you can only vote the free vote once a day.
Yes, once a day.
And then, but if you want to pay,
and some days it's times 2 on certain days, which is great.
Yes,
we did it. We did America's Favorite Couple.
Oh, okay.
That's been fun. I'm like, vote for us.
Yeah. I love that. I do.
Yes, everybody's been doing that. Well, you guys, as we say, thanks again for watching us. And we're going to tell you about next week's show. We're going to have someone here, Mr. Nathan Daly. He's going to talk about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act of Trump, because there's something in the Bill Act that's talking about the student loans and how it affects kids that are going to college. So we're going to have someone come in here and really breaking it down for you parents as far as understanding about these student loans and how they're different than when we went to school. So you guys stay tuned. Tell somebody about us here on Can We Talk Sports. And so, Big Mama, you have any last words?
Have a great week. And as Tab says, if you can't have one, don't mess up nobody else's.
Right. I like that. You have a great night.
All right, you
All right,
guys.
nice
Have
to
a
meet
great
you,
night.
Enjoli.
You too. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Here we go.
Let's go.